Hey guys, welcome back to this episode of W Inherent Advocacy Empowerment for Teachers. So today I was thinking that I should talk about my transition from high school to college, as any person with disability might have like a relatively hard or an easier time. I found for me it was more like in a moderately. So let's dive into today's episode, shall we? So as anyone with a disability, many can have their own fears and worries, but sometimes it can come with great challenges and opportunities to take on. So I graduated with a class about 100 other students. And so I graduated with over 3.5 GPA. I remember my senior year of high school, I really wasn't ready to leave the high school because I had a lot of decent memories, but at the same time I knew I had to be ready to leave because it was just ready to start a new chapter in my life. Because and I don't know if I have ADHD, but I think a lot of also specific time plan that I need also threw me out balance a lot too when I was graduating, because a lot I remember a lot of my classmates didn't really want to be around anymore. Like they just kind of wanted to do their own thing, and I was just kind of very much stuck in this loop of I still want to be here, but at the same time I don't. And so I remember that summer I worked a lot because I knew that I wasn't going to have a lot of money to try to pay for my own expenses. So I worked a lot. And I remember my mom just being very, she wanted me to be prepared on leaving, what kind of stuff that I needed, what kind of stuff that I did and didn't need to pack for my own college dorm. And so she was just very adamant making sure that I had everything that I needed. And so when I moved to a private liberal arts college, it was very difficult for me to transition to academic life because my social life has been more lacking than it was. I never really felt like I had a place there, and the only place I felt like I had was at work because they gave me a purpose to still survive in a way. And so if you ever move to college with a disability or university with a disability, I would highly advise to you to get in contact with your own colleges, universities, do accessibility services, because they are there to help support you. They will try to help you get the resources, they will help you get the equipment that you need to be able to succeed. Because I remember for me, because I got a cochlear implant during that time, had I was very adamant about them getting a mini microphone because I do really want to use my mini microphone, and they're like, yes, we'll get you a mini microphone and everything. Also at the time when I was learning about different ways of learning of how I can transition from high school to college, with note taking and everything. I didn't know about this transcribe option called Otter, which essentially transcribes a conversation and just has it all out in word form. Not, it doesn't have a note taking form or anything like that. It's just very much word per word. And so I just found that to be very helpful. And so they are there to help support you. They want you to succeed. So I would just say before the start of any school year, just go to your student accessibility services and just set up a meeting with them. Make sure that you have your accommodations, your own IEP, everything all set in place, so that way you're not freaking out last minute about it 7 days before school starts and figuring out whether or not your accommodations are being put into place. Set that up during the summertime and still keep a close eye on it and making sure that your plans get approved. And so I would say that for me, my transition was moderately okay. I just had a hard time adjusting to from going from A B class periods to one class for 18 days. And then from one class for 18 days for a full year, and then transitioning from that academic plan to now I have college. Now I have schedules that vary a lot. For me, what do I have? I have an hour an hour and 15 minutes of class periods, I would say. Yes, I would say most of my classes are usually about an hour and 15 minutes. I can't remember what last semester was. I had about like an hour's class, and then I had like an hour and like 15 minutes of class periods. So yeah, like it might still be like relatively the same like schedule block that you may have had, but for me, like I was just thrown all over the place, just kind of like learning to adjust to different like academic calendars. And so I felt like the private college that I attended to was okay. It just lacked some resources that I needed. And so now, like at the university that I attend, like I get my own resources. People generally like treat you like as a person, like you're a human. They don't treat you like you're a number. Like they generally want you to succeed, and they generally are very happy when they're just there to help support you. And also, like I have found like a lot of people generally want you to succeed, and I've just found that to be like very helpful. And so when I was at a private liberal arts college, like they were mainly okay. Like I just had like different perspective on how I viewed my academics there. And I mean, so because like they had like one class for 18 days, the class period stretches were usually from like 9 to 11, and then you would have like a 2 hour lunch break, and then you would have to go back to class from like 1 to 3. Some certain professors, I had a professor that started classes at 8:30 in the morning. 8:30 to I think it was 8:30 to 12. I was just pissed because I'm like, I am not used to this kind of frame, but like we'll see how this goes. And to be honest, I actually did like that time frame more because I was actually able to be much more productive with my day. Like later on, like I got a lot more homework done in the afternoon than I did in the morning. And so like I just felt like having classes like earlier can like help you to set up be more successful later in the day. And so yeah, like that was like towards like the last like it was the spring semester when I had like a lot of classes that were like early in the morning, and then didn't really have like late afternoon classes or anything like that, really, in all honesty. And then I remember kind of like heading from so in the fall semester. So you know how like sometimes like the sun can either you know how the sun can like rise up later and then set early in the day. For me, like I had a very difficult time getting up early in the morning because I didn't have my alarm clock. I didn't have an alarm clock until after I almost missed one of my class. Pretty much throughout my whole academic career, my mom was always the one that was getting me up early in the morning. And I think there was the one time where I had worked like all one weekend, and I didn't get home until like 10 o'clock at night, and then I had to get to school at like 7:30 o'clock in the morning. And my mom had like woken me up around like 6 o'clock. My clock was at like 7:30. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm going to miss school. I'm like, I'll get myself to school like I'll like just 5 or 10 more minutes. Nope, that didn't happen. Because the next thing I know, I check my phone and it's like 7:45. And I'm like, my gosh, I'm not gonna get to school on time. Like I've already missed one of my class. Like I'm like, this is just absolutely wonderful. So I get to school with like 10 minutes, like 40 minutes of my first period because I overslept. And my associate was like, are you okay? I'm like, yes, I'm sorry. Like I just overslept. Like I had a really busy weekend. I didn't get much sleep, and yeah, I just overslept. And then I remember at college, like I almost overslept, and I just had a really difficult time getting up early in the morning because I also didn't really like eat a lot in college. I always skipped out on breakfast because I just wasn't naturally that hungry anymore. I mean, I don't skip breakfast out as much anymore. When I'm at the university, I skip lunch for like I would say 3 or 4 days. I skip lunch because my classes like overlap with like lunch periods and everything, so I'm unable to make it to lunch. But yeah, like could barely get myself up. And so having an alarm clock was just like a huge lifesaver. And I remember when I had gotten the alarm clock, I also had like requested for like a fire alarm bed shaker. So like if a fire alarm ever went off or anything like that, like I could just like I would be like out, like I'd just be out and about, like I'd be okay and so forth. Well, I had a faulty fire alarm shaker, and here's how I knew. It was like 8 o'clock at night. I think I was just getting ready to for the school day to happen the next following day, and I think I was just on my phone doing some business. I can't remember what I was doing on my phone, but I was on my phone doing something, and all of a sudden I feel this vibrating under my bed, and I'm like, where what like I just leap out of bed because I'm like, I just had like a huge panic attack there because I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, why is my bed vibrating? And like also at the time I didn't know what a bed vibrating had ever felt like. And so that was just like a huge, I'm like, what just happened to, like, what just happened? I was very confused. And I was texting one of my friends. I'm like, was there like a fire alarm or something going off? Like, I don't hear anything. And they're like, no, there's no fire alarm or anything like that. I'm like, oh, okay, it must just be my fault. I must just have like a faulty bed alarm shaker. And they're like, I guess so. But like, they recommended that I had to like go and change and like see if I could like replace it. But I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. But and then after like knowing how the bed shaker felt, and then with my bed shaker alarm, now I use it 24/7. And when I was back at home for the summertime, I use my bed alarm shaker like 24/7. I don't remember what time I had set it, but it always like I remember my mom like being downstairs, and like she like heard this like sound. Like to her it sounded like someone was playing like loud music, and like only for like a short moment of time. Like it was just passing by in the distance. And she was so confused on what it was coming from until she realized, oh, it's her bed shaker. So basically my bed shaker helps me to get up every day. And then another reason, just like transitioning from high school to college, like just like money financial aspects. So yes, I was gonna have to pay about like, I think after, so if I had decided to stay at the private college, I would have to pay about $50,000 into debt. Like that's how much I would have to pay out of pocket. And then at the university, I could potentially graduate almost debt free. So I was just kind of like smart in what to pay for money aspects. And then I still live pretty minimalistic in terms of like how much space, because when I was at the private college I had very little space at all. Like it was just a very tiny dorm. So I lived out of my storage basket for like a full academic year. And my roommate at the time had also, they lived out of state. They were from Arizona. So yeah, you can definitely imagine they had like some winter gear. They had some summer gear and everything. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't giving them like a dresser that was supposed to be mine. I just gave that to them. Like, you live farther away than I do. I'm like, just keep it for like storage purposes. Like I'm okay. I personally feel like I had a home there. I mean, I do feel like I have a home at the university because I have more friends that I can socialize with, and like I'm involved in more things. But yeah, I still live very minimalistic. I don't really have a lot of stuff, mainly because I live kind of close to campus, but I prefer to like still stay nearby campus due to like mental health reasons. So yeah, so I would just say just kind of like knowing your own like personal needs of what you need, and just kind of like knowing how you can like move forward with the future is all I can like recommend to anybody with a disability, and just kind of like helping to like move from like young to like more mature adultish life. So yeah, I hope this episode was very informative to you, and I just want you to know that like that you're not alone. Everybody goes through something, and just be the voice for the people that need like for accommodations. like when you're like transitioning from like two different institutions, just advocate for yourself. And even if you can't advocate for yourself, you could still be the voice for anybody that needs that kind of accommodation in the place. So yeah, I hope this episode was very informative. Just be the voice, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.